Welcome back to Epic Cars, and today I'm going to get yelled at by Old Bones. It wasn't fun. Man, he's mean and cranky these days. Okay, me and Old Bones are friends again, but I got to tell you a little story. He got a little mad at me a second ago. He saw me hooking up this winch to this Ford, and as soon as I started hooking up the winch, he started honking and his lights started going off and all kinds of stuff. I said, "Hey, buddy, what in the world is going on?" He said, "You're not going to hook that stupid old Ford up to me now." And I said, "Yes, sir, I am. I've got to. You're on the right side. I got to get it done." "I'm sorry, buddy. I know that I've neglected you lately. I know you're sitting over here kind of just waiting for a new engine and not getting a lot of work right now, but I thought you'd like this. I thought, being useful is kind of what you want to be." He said, "Yeah, but not to help stupid old Fords." "Okay, buddy, I'm sorry. I got to pull the cab this way. I'm going to use you to help me. I need some help right now, buddy." "Well, why don't you pull up that stupid old Hummer behind me?" Old Bones, okay, first and foremost, I don't know why you're calling the Hummer stupid. That's like your cousin. It came from the same GM. Well, I don't care. It's not a Chevy. Today, we're going to continue the process of the F100 project and got the floor pans in, got the bed liner in, actually have already fixed the heater core and the heater blower and all that good stuff, so that was pretty easy. And now I'm moving into the body lift removal. Now, part of this process and why this is episode 2 is because I wanted to get the rust done inside the cab and kind of the things done here before I started actually lowering the body down onto the frame. This truck came with about 2.5 to 3 inch body puck lifts, so where it basically puts a spacer between the cab or the bed and the frame in order to raise the body up. And typically people do that to put on bigger tires and wheels and things like that. So there's 2 ways to lift a truck. You can either do the body lift, which is leaving everything stock down on the chassis, and you're just essentially sandwiching some things between the body and the frame so it lifts the entire sheet metal up to where you can fit the bigger tires. Or you can do a suspension lift. So this is a straight axle on the front of your truck. Your spring height, or your leaf spring, in this case we'll say spring height, if it's lower, then obviously this axle is going to sit higher up, closer to the body, closer to the frame, and you can't put the bigger tires on it. If you expand that and put bigger springs on, it's pushing this axle further away from the frame and thus further away from the body to where you can put bigger tires on it. Well, what a body lift does is, again, it keeps everything stock and just raises the body. We're going to take that body lift off, get it back down on the frame, and part of that process is fixing the cab mounts. The cab mounts are very rusty, and I got to get those fixed. One thing I should have thought of, though, before doing this project was I just put gas in this truck. I mean, I don't know how many gallons it is, probably like 14, 15 gallons, so it was kind of hard getting it out, especially by myself. But the issue was, lo and behold, 2 of the back cab mounts, this one right here and that one right there, are underneath the gas tank. So in these Ford F100 bump sides, and probably most older trucks with the gas tank in the cab, you're going to have to remove the gas tank in order to get access to those 2 bolts so that you can remove those body lift pucks, in my case, body lift pucks, that are underneath the cab. If you can see, I think this is actually the stock pad that the body used to sit on, and then they added this in order to get the additional clearance. So this is what I'm going to actually be taking out on this truck in order to get this gap to go down to here. The front bumper's not aligned. There's just everything's kind of just not really aligned on this truck, especially the body panels. And so taking that out is going to bring that back down, going to make the front bumper to where it lines up. Right now, it just, when I put the bumper on, it's hanging way down here, and it's actually supposed to be up here, as you can see from this paint line, actually overlapping this little panel right there, and it sits way low because of the body lift. What I did, as I mentioned, was I put on new springs, new shocks, things like that, raised the truck that way through a suspension method rather than using the body lift. One of the main issues I'm running into, though, is this item right here. This is what's called a front cab mount. A lot of trucks, they have different ways of actually attaching to the frame down here, but in Ford's case, they use this kind of cab mount on the front of the cab, And it's actually made up of two pieces. You got this one big piece right here, and then you've got another piece right there that actually goes underneath the floor pan. And you can see that in the last video that I did on the floor pan replacement. What I'm going to be doing differently on this build, though, is actually rebuilding these cab mounts. The top is in really good shape. It's solid. It's really thick metal. And so what I'm going to actually be doing is kind of rebuilding the bottom, the inside, and this side where the rust had been eating it out. Typically, that's not the way you do things when you're doing a cab mount replacement. But doing a complete cab mount replacement is a big job. And I'm hoping to kind of show everybody some different ways of doing this. I've done a cab mount replacement before, and I'm telling you, it was a lot of work. I think I can come up with an alternative method to make this a lot easier to do. So let's get to it. A pair of scissors and some cardboard are going to be your best friend. And in this case, all I did was just kind of build a basic look of what I'm going for as far as this being level and the pieces of sheet metal that I'm going to need to cut in order to weld this in place. Now, obviously, I'll go a little bit oversized because I still have to cut this out, cut off all the jagged parts and kind of get the bad metal out of there. But this will be basically a general idea of kind of what I'm going for as far as my cuts on my sheet metal, and then I can just weld it all into place. Now it's just using a cutoff wheel, get in there, clean all these edges up. So you can see I've got the passenger side cleaned up now. I got it all cut to straight edges and got all the bad metal out of it. Then just used a grinder just to get kind of down to bare metal so I can weld easily. I will say that I'm a little worried about this part right here. It's going to be a little bit difficult to get into to weld. I kind of wish I had my lift open. It's got a couple of cars on it right now, and it'd be a lot easier to be able to try to maybe do this from underneath. But I'm trying to show everybody how you can do it in your own driveway if you need to. So I'm going to try to resist putting it on the lift and actually doing this on the ground. So I took apart my template and just traced it out on a piece of metal here. I found this over here by my kind of welding station. 16 gauge plain steel. So it's pretty thick gauge. I think it's going to be more than enough once it's fully boxed in to support that weight. I thought about using maybe some of this really thick like bracket material for the bottom, and I actually think as long as I get it all welded in correctly, this is going to be fine because that's about the thickness of what the sheet metal on the existing cab mounts are. So now it's just putting it in a vise and cutting it out and stitching it together. So again, nothing fancy here, guys. I just got a pickup tailgate and a block of wood and a couple of magnets holding my sheet metal together. I'm just going to go ahead and tack this front plate into place onto the bottom plate, and then kind of just work my way around and make sure everything's done. Because remember, this inside is going to be a little bit of a booger to get to, so I'm going to go ahead and get this all put together as much as possible to where I can get good penetration on my welds here and then all the way around on this side. And then once I actually place it onto the cab mount itself, I'm going to make sure I have a good clean line here, good clean line there that I can get access to. This one's still going to be a tough one, but at least I know the rest of the structure is put together good. Hope none of my sparks catch that carpet or hay on. That's pretty wet though. All right, so you can see I got my box pretty much fabbed up, got it tacked into place. I had to trim off the back there, put that angle on that side piece so it would actually go back. Not very good with origami or geometry, I guess. But that's why you put it together out here. So far, so good. I mean, I'm not a fabricator by any means, but this is getting started, and I think it's going to turn out pretty well. So I've got both of the brackets built up here. This one I've kind of got a little further on. I painted it and just got it ready for it. I had to fill a little hole right there. And then this one, I did it a little bit different. You can tell on this one, I just kind of ground down the bottom part to where it was even with the side parts. And on this one, because the little leftover that I had kind of sticking out on each side, I just folded it over and then tacked it all the way around. Instead of having to grind it off flush like that, I felt that would be a little better look. So I'm glad I did it on this side, and I should have done it on that side, but you know how it goes when you're fabricating. You just kind of think of things as you go. Now I just got to clean them up, paint them, and get them installed. All right, so there's the passenger side in. Had to add another strap right there just because I had a little bit of a hole right there. Should have made this panel a little bit taller, but overall it went in pretty good. Like I said, don't be criticizing my welding. I know it sucks. Here's a shot of the bolt and the regular stock body mount bushing that I bought off of LMC truck, just to kind of show you how far off I am. All right, got the driver's side in now. I think she's ready to get down on the pad. So here's the actual body lift, and it kind of sat in there just like so. Had this bolt going straight through it, but it was all rusted out. I couldn't get it off, so I just cut straight through it. So now this bolt will go up. This is the actual stock body mount. So I'm gonna go ahead and reuse that since it's already there, because the kit that they brought me is right there, and it just doesn't seem like there's enough. I don't know if I was supposed to get 2 of them or something. I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna try to reuse these as much as I can. Keep in mind, there are different sizes. So there's thinner ones and thicker ones and so forth. And so you gotta make sure that they're in the right spot as you work your way back, so that your body line, look at that zipper, woo! So your body line will actually line up, because you've got the different sizes. Just gonna have to kind of go by feel and by measure and by look to see if I've got the right ones. Okay, so I got the new bolts in, and you can see back there I've also got the cab mount bushing in place. So in the bolt in place also, my washers and everything. Because the first step I'm gonna take on this is I'm actually gonna be lowering down the front of the cab. I still have the back cab mounts in the very back underneath the gas tank to go, but I've basically got 6 cab mounts here and 6 cab mounts out back on the bed. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and lower down the front end first, get those in place, work my way back from there. So I've got it set up. It's a little bit off kilter here. That's not quite lining up yet, so I actually may need some help whenever I'm lowering the jack to put that down in there to kind of get them in place, but we'll see if I can do it by myself. Okay, so here's why you want to have that front cab mount bushing in place, because when I set this front end down on that bushing right there, that all fell into place too. So it's right at the right height. That's exactly what I need it to do, and it worked out perfect. So here's a side look of what I just did with just the 2 bushings on the front. Have not attempted the back bushing yet. It's already, this door line's lining up really well. And I noticed just by shutting the door, it just lines up a lot better than it used to as far as the door line. Now I still have, that's still off. So that's still gonna be a little bit of, the cab is jacked up 2 inches more than the front, and I could probably do some adjusting of this door to get it right on in the back. But man, it just already looks a ton better. Well, check that out. Got the first 6 done on the front of the cab. Now I've got to do the 6 on the back, but look at that body line already. Woo, straight as an arrow. Took the truck out on a drive, got it up to about 65 miles an hour on the highway, ran great as usual. I've still got that clicking noise that somebody suggested it may be the throwout bearing, but I'm going to take it into my transmission guy and have him look at it. But really, I'm just really excited that this truck is coming together. I mean, it's really performing well. It looks nice. There's a few things I still want to do to it. I've got a new dash pad coming. I've got some lights for the back. I want to paint the bumpers. Just do a couple little things here and there before I sell it. But all the things I've done to it so far, the suspension lift is working perfect, rides well, shocks all the way around. New steering box is phenomenal. I mean, it really is a nice steering box. Steers straight as an arrow down the road. Brakes, I still got to work on the brakes a little bit. I still got to bleed them. I just don't have them all the way there yet. Transmission shift's great. I'm working on the heater controls and the radio, get that working. So like I said, just a few little tweaks here and there, and then it's going to be for sale, guys. So if you're interested in this truck, it's something that you would want to buy, let me know, and as soon as it's done, I'll hit you up and let you know what I'm asking for it. Probably a week, maybe 2 weeks away from being ready to sell, but it needs to go on to somebody else because I picked up a new project that I haven't really told you guys too much about it yet. I'm going to be doing a video about it next. So really, I don't need this truck anymore because of my new truck that I got. So really excited about the new project, and I'll start working on that one. But guys, until next time, I appreciate you watching. Hit the subscribe button below. I'd appreciate that. Go back and watch the previous videos that I've done on this truck to show everything that I've done if you're interested in buying it. And hit the like button if you can. I would appreciate that. God bless and take care. We'll see you next time.